In the world of blockchain, uptime is pretty much everything. So what happens when it looks like an entire network, a major one, just stops? Today, we're diving into a pretty dramatic event that seemed to freeze the Cardano blockchain, and it sparked a huge firestorm of confusion and, well, a lot of controversy.
I mean, that's a terrifying question, right? And it's one the Cardano community had to face head-on. This is really the central mystery we're unpacking here. How could a single person's action create the illusion of a total network shutdown?
So the first signs of trouble, they just appeared out of nowhere. Reports started flying across social media, community channels, and to the outside world, it seriously looked like Cardano had ground to a complete halt. You can imagine, panic started to set in as everyone scrambled for answers.
Now, just imagine being the person who caused all that. This quote, it just captures that exact moment of dread. Seeing the public face of the network, those block explorers that everyone is watching, go completely still. Yeah, that's a gut-wrenching feeling right there.
With an event this massive, the community's first thought was, okay, what is this? An external attack? Some kind of catastrophic protocol failure? Turns out the answer came from a place nobody expected.
In a really surprising turn of events, a stake pool operator, someone who is trusted to help run the network, actually came forward. They posted this really detailed public apology, basically taking full responsibility for all the chaos.
I mean, this quote says it all. The operator, KpuntoNøøb, just openly admitted their role. So it wasn't a hacker, it wasn't some rival project, it was a community member who made a gigantic mistake. But how? How did this even happen?
Okay, so let's break this down. According to his own confession, it all started as a personal challenge. But the critical error was really twofold. First, blindly trusting an AI's instructions to configure his server. And second, and this is the big one, doing it on the live mainnet without any testing. That is a truly disastrous combination.
And this is the most important question in this entire story. Everyone saw the network stop. It looked dead. But did the underlying Cardano blockchain, the actual core protocol, did it really fail? Okay, this is where we have to get really clear on the difference. A true network halt, what you see on the left, a catastrophic failure, that did not happen. What did happen is what's on the right. The operator's mistake caused a whole bunch of individual nodes, the computers that report on the blockchain status, to go offline.
And this just illustrates the whole issue perfectly. The heart of Cardano was still beating, blocks were still being produced, the chain was moving forward. But so many of the windows that we all use to look at that heart suddenly went black. So the network itself was secure. But the perception was one of total failure.
All right, so once the technical details started getting sorted out, the story of why it happened just split into two completely different, conflicting versions.
So on one side, you've got the operator's story. They're claiming it was just profound negligence, a really, really careless mistake, but that there was zero malicious intent. They weren't trying to short ADA or get bragging rights or anything like that.
But then, you have a very different take. Cardano's founder, Charles Hoskinson, he painted a much darker picture. He claimed the act was absolutely personal and that the operator was only apologizing because law enforcement was getting involved. That's a direct accusation of malice.
So with this technical vulnerability exposed and two completely conflicting stories swirling around, how did the community actually process all of this? Well, they started to focus on what could be learned. The fallout was surprisingly constructive. A lot of people called it a necessary wake-up call. And immediately, there were demands to improve quality assurance and a big renewed push for different node implementations so that a single bug couldn't affect so many nodes at once. And of course, it kicked off a huge conversation about the risks of using AI for critical infrastructure tasks. So in the end, what's the legacy here? Was this just the reckless action of one person that caused a whole lot of unnecessary panic? Or was it a vital, real-world stress test that actually exposed a weakness and, in the long run, made the entire ecosystem stronger? That's really the question the Cardano community is still debating today.